To prevent his world from facing imminent destruction, Deadpool decides to seek help from the deceased Wolverine. Since Logan, as a mutant with incredible healing abilities, might still be alive, Wade digs up his grave, only to find Wolverine's remains. In frustration, he beats the remains with a shovel and curses Logan, who was his last hope. Later, after calming down, Deadpool is seen talking to Logan's skeleton. Minutes later, a group of TVA agents arrives to arrest him for crimes against the sacred timeline. Without hesitation, Deadpool uses Wolverine's adamantium bones as weapons to fight back. He single-handedly eliminates all the soldiers sent to capture him and kicks Wolverine's skull away. When new agents appear through portals, Deadpool continues his assault, determined to eliminate them all. He even ties Wolverine's adamantium claws to his wrists to use as weapons to defeat the remaining agents. Suddenly, we flash back a few months to when Wade decided he wanted to join the Avengers. After a life of crime and becoming the mercenary known as Deadpool, Wade resolves to live a righteous life to win back his girlfriend, Vanessa, as his greatest fear is losing her. However, Happy, Tony Stark's former driver and now an Avengers employee, realizes Wade's intentions are selfish and refuses to accept him into the team. 6 months after being rejected, Wade begins to rebuild his life, working at a dealership with Peter, one of the few people who knows his true identity as Deadpool. On Wade's birthday night, Peter accompanies him home, where he is surprised with a party. That night, Wade enjoys the company of his friends, including Vanessa, who is now his ex-girlfriend. Despite still hurting from the breakup, Wade feels happy to be surrounded by the people he loves. After making a birthday wish, Wade hears a knock on the door and goes to answer it. He is confronted by TVA agents, but before he can question them, one agent rips off his wig while another drags him through a portal. Taken against his will to the TVA headquarters, Wade meets Paradox, who explains that the TVA's employees are responsible for protecting the sacred timeline. Paradox reveals the true reason for Wade's presence. He was chosen for a great purpose. Paradox promises that if Deadpool works for him, he will eventually be able to join the Avengers. Hearing this, the anti-hero quickly accepts the deal and rushes to get a new uniform before starting his mission. Wade then asks Paradox to send him back home so he can share the news with his friends. At this point, Deadpool uncovers the truth. By making a deal with the TVA, he has sealed his fate. He can never return home because his universe is set to be reset in 72 hours, and everyone he cares about will cease to exist. When Deadpool demands an explanation, Paradox reveals that when a universe loses its anchor, it begins to slowly disintegrate. In Wade's universe, this anchor was Wolverine, who sacrificed himself to save a group of mutant children, including his daughter Laura. Rather than waiting for the natural death of this universe, which would occur in a few thousand years, Paradox has built a machine to destroy it all at once. After revealing his true intentions, Paradox gives Deadpool two options: join the sacred timeline and fulfill his dream of becoming an Avenger, or be destroyed along with his friends. Deadpool, however, chooses a third option. After striking Paradox, he steals the temp pad and opens a portal back home, still believing that Wolverine might be alive. Wade digs up Wolverine's grave, but his fears are confirmed. Wolverine is truly dead. After eliminating all the TVA agents sent to capture him, Deadpool embarks on a journey to find another version of Logan and convince him to help save his friends. Traveling through different parallel universes, Deadpool encounters several versions of Wolverine, but each one tries to kill him, including one who bears a striking resemblance to Henry Cavill. After being pierced dozens of times by adamantium claws, Deadpool finally finds an alcoholic version of Wolverine, who also refuses to help. Knowing he's running out of options, Wade forcefully takes this Wolverine to the TVA headquarters and tries to convince Paradox to replace the old Wolverine with the new one. However, Paradox states that such a substitution is impossible. Wade insists on speaking to whoever is in charge and discovers that Paradox intends to carry out this operation without his boss's consent. Paradox, feeling threatened, decides to reset Deadpool and do the same with Wolverine before they can cause any further trouble. When Wolverine encounters Deadpool, he vents his rage, furious at being taken from his universe against his will and trapped in an unfamiliar place. Wade retaliates, emptying his pistol into Wolverine's ribs. The fight continues, with Wolverine using his claws to destroy Deadpool's weapons, and Deadpool using his swords to block the attacks. During the duel, Wolverine is repeatedly struck, and Deadpool's swords remain lodged in his body. With his rival now vulnerable, Logan prepares to decapitate Deadpool, but Wade manages to convince him to join forces. Even without knowing Wolverine's past, Wade imagines that Logan must have suffered a great loss to be so bitter, and he promises that if the mutant helps him return to the TVA headquarters, he will convince Paradox to restore his universe. Their conversation is interrupted by Captain America, who warns them that the real enemies are approaching. Seeing one of his favorite superheroes, Deadpool becomes emotional, but when Chris Evans starts catching fire, Wade realizes it's actually Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four. As the Human Torch uses his powers to attack the enemies, Pyro intervenes, blocking the attack and absorbing all the fire. With his powers drained, Johnny collapses, and Sabretooth appears to confront his brother. As the duel is about to begin, Deadpool removes the sword stuck in Wolverine's body, anticipating an epic battle. However, as soon as the fight starts, Logan makes the first move and decapitates his opponent. Realizing he can't capture the two, Pyro uses a giant magnet to imprison Wolverine, and Deadpool ends up getting stuck as well. Both are then tied up inside a cell with Johnny and taken to Cassandra Nova's hideout, the twin sister of Professor Charles Xavier. Upon meeting Cassandra, Deadpool recounts all the terrible things Johnny said about her during the trip, prompting the mutant to decide to eliminate him. Cassandra explains that she was sent to the desolate place before she could even walk, and that her brother, Charles Xavier, never came to find her. As she speaks ill of his deceased friend, Wolverine attempts to attack her, but she uses her powers to sink his body into the ground. Cassandra then invades Wade's mind, probing his deepest vulnerabilities and discovering that he was recently rejected by the person he loved most. After exiting his mind, Deadpool distracts her long enough for Wolverine to try stabbing her with his claws. However, to their surprise, Cassandra easily evades the attack and summons a purple cloud named Aloe to devour them. As the cloud approaches, Wolverine and Deadpool manage to escape by hitching a ride on a flying device. Their next mission is to find a way to return to the TVA and capture Paradox to force him to fix both of their universes. However, before embarking on this plan, the duo decides to take a break and find an abandoned diner in the middle of the desert. While eating, Deadpool mentions that in his world, Logan is adored by countless fans. Hearing this, Wolverine reveals that in his universe, he is despised by everyone due to an unforgivable mistake he made. After a brief rest, the two allies decide to continue their journey toward the border, as Johnny mentioned before dying that it was the only way out of that world. During the walk, Wolverine asks what happened to his other version, and Deadpool reveals that Logan died trying to save a girl who, like him, was created in a laboratory. The young woman, named Laura and known by the codename X-23, was considered by Wolverine to be his daughter, and he sacrificed himself so she could be free. As they continue their trek through the desert, Deadpool sees a dog running toward him and is instantly charmed by the animal. Without hesitation, Wade decides to adopt the dog, but soon discovers that it already has an owner named Dogpool. At that moment, Nicepool appears to retrieve his dog, and Wolverine asks for directions to the border. Trying to help them return home, Nicepool lends them his car so they can get there faster. Before leaving, Wade reluctantly returns Dogpool to its rightful owner and gets into the car to continue the journey. During the drive, Deadpool asks Wolverine what he would change if the TVA agents could alter the past. Upon hearing this, Logan realizes he has been deceived. His partner convinced him to help based on false promises. Unsure if his universe can really be altered, the mutant abruptly slams on the brakes and attacks Deadpool, furious at having been tricked. Since being taken from his world against his will, Wolverine believed he could fix a great mistake from his past and bring his friends back. Now, realizing it was all an illusion, he vents his frustration on Wade. The two begin fighting inside the car, with Deadpool trying to cut Logan with his sword while being repeatedly pierced by Wolverine's claws. The battle is so intense that they destroy the entire vehicle and splatter blood everywhere. Since both have rapid healing abilities, the fight lasts all night. In the morning, they are found unconscious by another variant sent to that world. A few minutes after the rescue, Deadpool wakes up to see Logan drinking a bottle of whiskey. Suddenly, Wade hears a noise and prepares to attack, but is surprised by the arrival of Elektra, who easily knocks him down. Blade the Vampire Hunter and Gambit then appear, accompanied by Laura. She reveals that she found them in the desert and decided to take them to a hideout because she recognized Wolverine. Before being captured by the TVA, Laura underwent a similar experiment to Logan, having several liters of adamantium injected into her body. Thanks to Wolverine, X-23 survived, and although she knows he is not the same Logan who saved her, she decides to repay the favor. Upon meeting the team, Deadpool asks how they ended up there, and Elektra reveals that all their universes were reset. Knowing that these mutants would never accept the destruction of their worlds without a fight, the TVA decided to send them to the Void to prevent them from causing problems. Hearing this, Wade decides to join the team, learning that they were friends of Johnny at that moment. Wolverine reveals that, because of Deadpool, the Human Torch was killed by Cassandra. However, Wade manages to rally the mutants to help him defeat Cassandra, the sister of Professor Xavier. The only way to stop her is by blocking her powers with Magneto's helmet, but Cassandra had already destroyed it after killing Magneto. While recounting the tragic loss of their most experienced team member, Elektra remembers that Juggernaut's helmet can also block Cassandra's powers. The problem is that Juggernaut now works for Cassandra. Deadpool devises a plan to steal the helmet and convinces everyone to join him, except Wolverine. That night, while Logan is drinking whiskey by a campfire, Laura visits him. She tells him that he reminds her a lot of her father, despite all his flaws, and that her father was always there when she needed him. Hearing this, Logan admits that he wasn't there to help the X-Men when they needed him most. Instead of staying at the mansion with his family, Wolverine chose to follow his own path. One day, humans invaded the mansion and killed all the mutants. Logan returned drunk from a bar hours later, only to find the bodies of his friends. Since then, he has never forgiven himself for not being there to protect them. After hearing this, Laura says she will join the team in the fight against Cassandra and asks Wolverine to support them. At dawn, the team drives to Cassandra's hideout. As they approach the fortress, Blade uses a bazooka to blow up the gates, and the team storms the enemy base. Although everyone thought Wolverine wouldn't support them in the battle, he emerges from the trunk, boosting his allies' confidence. Knowing they probably won't survive, all the team members give their best to give Deadpool and Wolverine a chance to get close to Cassandra. When Cassandra sees them, she claims to be surprised they've returned and demonstrates her superiority by easily immobilizing them without touching them. She then invades Logan's mind and discovers the deep pain he carries for letting down all the people he loved. After finding the bodies of his friends at the mansion, Wolverine became bitter and started killing humans in an attempt to numb his pain. Meanwhile, Laura faces Juggernaut in a duel, and after defeating him, manages to steal his helmet. She climbs the tower to deliver the helmet to Wolverine, but is pulled back down and has to throw her backpack into the room. Deadpool grabs the helmet and manages to trap Cassandra while she is vulnerable, invading Logan's mind. As the duo debates what to do with her, Pyro suddenly appears and starts shooting at Cassandra. Wolverine strikes Pyro down and then argues with Deadpool about Cassandra's fate. If the helmet isn't removed, she will die soon. Despite wanting to kill her, Wolverine knows this is not what Xavier would want and decides to spare Cassandra's life. In gratitude, Cassandra agrees to help them return home and uses a ring she stole from one of the versions of Doctor Strange to open a portal back to Earth 1.5, where Wade lives. Just then, Aloe approaches, and Cassandra warns that they have only 4 seconds to escape the Void before being devoured by the Cloud. Deadpool and Wolverine run through the portal while their friends stay behind to continue the battle. Cassandra then interrogates Pyro to discover why he tried to kill her and learns that he is a double agent working for Paradox, who ordered him to eliminate her. Realizing that Deadpool and Wolverine have returned to Washington, Paradox decides to pursue them, but is surprised by Cassandra's arrival. the mutant invades Paradox's mind and discovers that he is building a machine to annihilate that universe. Suddenly, she violently expels Deadpool and Wolverine from the void to continue probing Paradox's mind. She then decides to use the machine to destroy all universes, leaving only the void, the only world she controls. Meanwhile, Commander B-15 receives reports of an unauthorized time rip on Earth 105. After capturing Paradox and taking her to the machine, Cassandra leaves the portal open. Suddenly, Deadpool sees Dogpool emerge from it. As Wade picks him up, Nicepool follows, and soon after, a massive army of Deadpools from all possible versions floods through the portal. Confronted by this horde, Wade tries to persuade them to join him, but instead, they open fire. Wade uses Nicepool's body as a shield, and after taking cover behind a vehicle, he realizes that his doppelganger can't regenerate. Wade promises to take him to a hospital, but to get there, he has to cross the army of clones. Once again, he uses Nicepool as a shield, which results in his hairy version getting his brains blown out. Wade then takes Nicepool's gold-plated pistols and joins Wolverine in fighting the enemy army. Together, they wage war against dozens of mercenaries, advancing across the battlefield. When they see some enemies hiding inside a bus, they don't hesitate to enter and take them out. The bad news is that after the battle, the Deadpools regenerate and rise, ready for another round. Just as a new battle is about to start, Peter arrives on the scene and manages to establish peace, as all the Deadpools adore him. While the gang celebrates Peter's arrival, Wade and Logan rush to the subway and discover that Cassandra has already started using the machine. According to Paradox, the only way to stop her from destroying all alternative realities is to cause a short circuit in the device, which is powered by sources of matter and antimatter. To destroy the machine, someone needs to connect the sources, but doing so will result in their complete incineration. Despite the great risk, Deadpool and Wolverine decide to continue the mission. Logan insists on going alone, but Wade believes Logan deserves a fresh start. He attacks Logan with a fire extinguisher and pushes him out of the chamber, locking the doors. Deadpool destroys one of the sources and tries to pull the power cables to connect them to the other side, but he can't reach the antimatter source. When all seems lost, Wolverine manages to break down the door and grabs Wade's hand. Together, they use their bodies as a bridge to transfer energy between the sources, causing a massive short circuit in the time rip. Their bodies are burned from the inside out, but they manage to endure it, sharing the energy overload with the machine. The explosion instantly pulverizes Cassandra, and Earth 105 narrowly escapes destruction. At that moment, Commander B-15 appears and questions Paradox about the unauthorized use of a time ripper. In his defense, Paradox claims that Cassandra forced him to build the machine and invaded his mind to learn how to use it. According to Paradox, realizing that reality would be destroyed, he recruited Deadpool and Wolverine to correct the error, and they sacrificed themselves as heroes to save the universe. What Paradox didn't expect was that Deadpool and Wolverine would survive the explosion and expose his lies. Thanks to their teamwork, they managed to survive, and after discovering the truth, B-15 orders her guards to take Paradox to the TVA headquarters to be judged for his actions. After verifying that the universe is regenerating, the commander congratulates Wade and Logan on their excellent work. Even though Wolverine doesn't belong to that timeline, B-15 allows him to stay and rebuild his life. Noticing that the commander is in a generous mood, Deadpool asks for her help in rescuing his friends who were trapped in the void, as none of this would have been possible without them. After saving the world, Deadpool and Wolverine decide to go out for a meal, and Wade reunites with Dogpool. Since Nicepool is no longer alive, Wade adopts the dog and takes him home, along with Logan. When they enter the apartment, they are greeted by Al, who is happy to have 2 new housemates. A few days later, Wade gathers all his new and old friends and takes the opportunity to try to make amends with Vanessa.